Greetings, my dear people. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Show. Today's episode is very sensitive, if I can put it that way. Because even myself, it took me forever to make this episode. And I do not know exactly. I'm actually a little bit overwhelmed by this. Let's just put it that way. I've gained a new word in my dictionary. To call. You know, the action of calling. Not calling C-A-L-L. So I'm not even sure I'm saying it right. I probably have to go to Google Translate and ask Google Translate how it is pronounced. But it is call or cull, C-U-L-L. Something that is part of the history, I suppose, of some nation, and I suppose our nation, Canada, has it in its I will call it the dark side of our Canadian history. That's my personal take on it. Recently, they were ostrich. They're actually very beautiful. Such animals are kept in the secret forest in my land, or when they are raised in farms. These are unique animals. So I discovered that there were farms that were raising them in Canada, and one of them was going to have it's ostrich. Cooled or cold. So I thought to myself, no, they won't do that. I heard the story, that the story went to court, and the court put an halt on it for a while. And I said, yeah, why not? I mean, just looking at these animals and the privilege that we have to have them in our land is reason enough to do everything and anything to protect them. And it's funny because around the same time, I came across, there was a documentary in my native lands that was happening for farmers and elevators. No, not elevators. I'm speaking Franglish. Farmers and agriculteurs et élevateurs. Éleveurs et éleveurs. Oh, you know what? I'll have to speak that Franglish today. And they were explaining how it is very important, you know, to not disturb the ecosystem of farmers, but to do everything as government and institutions that we have should do their best to improve that ecosystem. And I thought to myself, I don't think we know better. No, we don't know better, or we just say that we know better. Anyway, lo and behold, obviously it seems the family lost the case, and that the Canadian, I suppose, Food Inspection won the case. And I did not even know this number before. I just found out of this number on X, aka Twitter. At almost 400, between 300 and 400 animals were sacrificed, if I can put it that way, for so let me put it this way. I can understand that out of the almost 500 that the farm had raised, that 68 died of H5N1 bird flu, aka the Spanish flu. But I am beginning to think, and I was appalled when I discovered that the Minister of Health of Canada is actually a brown sugar lady like me. I couldn't help but think, oh dear Minister of Ministers of Health, the Lord had placed you there and you were like the Queen Esther of these animals, but unfortunately the opportunity that God presents us through these animals to bring about reforms, to bring about changes, is a lost opportunity apparently, because if I understand, the farmers used to raise those animals and sell them for meat, and they decided to bring about some research. So here is the thing. On one end, we have organizations like PETA where we go around the world and we say we are there reproaching to other countries how they are raising the animals here, how they are treating animals there. But in our own homeland, we have a dark side that we need to deal with. And I'm discovering that we do the same with wolves. We actually intentionally poison wolves. I wonder what we would do if wolves and bear and all these wild animals that we have went around and killed around, like, apparently last few years ago we killed 1,000 wolves. Okay, let's say they killed around or harmed around 300 people or 1,000 people or 3,000 people all around the same time in the country. We will be outraged. We will be like beside ourselves. Like we will. I remember there was a case of wolves who harmed a young lady in was it in Saskatchewan or Winnipeg, and they were euthanized. So they will harm or kill, and then we will go back and kill, and then they will harm and we will go back and kill. And it's sad because we are only thinking with a mindset of killing. What is this? Like, is this another type of, and I'm sorry, my dear Minister of Health of Canada, is this another type of lynching? Where we just kill for the sake of killing? Because I believe you are put there, you are above even all the ministers of BC. I'm appalled that there are so many ministers of BC who could have been put on top of this, but since I am saying that the Minister of Ministers of Health of Canada is a brown sugar lady like me, and I will address her because this case became a national case, and apparently there are more cases of killing that are happening around the country. I believe this past weekend there were probably something about deers in a park. That way, killed as well. Killed. I will wrestle with that verb for a little bit. So I'm calling this animal lynching, Mrs. Minister Michelle. I'm calling this lynching, the lynching of animal. For you as a brown sugar lady, I am sure that God has put you there as the Minister of Health for a reason. And it is not just the Minister of Health of humans, the Minister of Health of animals. We cannot just go blindly about saying we are concerned about our poultry. Yes, we are concerned about our poultry. How much meat are we going to eat in Canada? Many restaurants, yes, they get serve meat and things like that, and at the end of the day everything goes into waste. So my point is, I worked in a restaurant for a while, in few restaurants in my life here in Canada. I worked on campus, I worked on Swiss Chalet, and I remember when I was working on campus in a faith-based environment, at the end of the day we had to throw food, and I said, I'm not going to throw food. And I was clear with my manager, I will not throw food. And there was a thing about food inspection, and also I had an agreement. I said, I will take the food. But if anything happens, I said, you will not be responsible of anything. But I was not taking the food that were left over from what people ate, but I was taking food that was left over from what the cooks had put together that day. Food that was untouched. And I'll pack them and I'll bring some home. Or today I can reveal it. I will share some with the homeless people on the street. It's not a big deal for us to do such things. We are trying to eradicate homelessness. This little case of the ostriches, like it's big. It covers many areas. We are trying to eradicate homelessness by a certain number of years. But I remember there was a classmate of mine at Ambrose University whose mother had purchased a church that was being sold, and she was renovating it in a way where the lower part of the restaurant would welcome homeless people in the evening after restaurant upper. So there were two levels to the restaurant. Part of the restaurant obviously was for people who come and eat, but part of it would be for homeless people who could come and eat as well. How much do we eat poultry? To the point where we kill the poultry to eat, we also kill. So animals do not, are we trying to say that animals do not have the right to be sick? Because that would be very interesting if we say animals do not have the right to be sick. Humans do not have the right to be sick. So I'm trying to understand, what would it have been like if when we went through this pandemic of COVID, that it was decided that the rest of the human population, everybody in every country where it had occurred, had to be killed. On top of the millions of people who died, or the people who are still going through some chronic COVID cases, because there are people who are still struggling with it today. Should they be killed? And the funny thing is, we are dealing with a family who had decided to no longer use those animals for I'm so overwhelmed to eat, but I suppose it was in 2020 with the pandemic they decided they will do some research. So it's not even as if they're saying they will do some testing on the animals. So we do not want animal testing. But when animals are willing to collaborate with us and reveal to us the secret of nature, then we want to kill them too. But here's my thing. We have killed the animals, but the issue is still there. Because here was the issue, apparently. One of the baby animals ate something from the soil that was contaminated. I don't know if we're paying attention here. There's a soil contaminated somewhere there in BC. So obviously something was revealed, but it was not dealt with. And I believe we have in BC a minister of land, I believe, and natural resources. So whatever the issue of a contaminated soil, we still have a contaminated soil somewhere there in BC. And that contamination in the soil, I guess how far in the country it has spread, we do not know. So there is still an issue there that has not been dealt with. You know, Canada has ranked as the 17th innovative country this year. Apparently last year we were 14 and we dropped down to 17. I believe we need to find innovative solutions around the situations that we are having. We have an opportunity here. Brazil knew way before the pandemic started that something of that opportunity was going to hit, but they did not have all the financial resources. But they had discovered on animals, on bats, that there's a certain type of flu that is about to, this is not normal. We over here are discovering cases. We quarantine the animals. Those who are healthy, they could have been transferred somewhere else until the situation is clear. Or they could... We can do better than that. On the Global Food Index, Canada is number 7. We can do better than that. I mean, I have faith in us. But we need to find other solutions than killing to our problems. If we are saying that we cannot live with these animals, then for those of us who are people of faith, we are violating the very commandment of God, telling us, I am asking you to have dominion over these creatures I have entrusted to you. We may not be like Finland, who killed 120,000 foxes, who had the Spanish flu as well. It looks like they might be number 1 on the food security index, but looks like we are being inspired by them in order to become one. I think we need to find other solutions of our own. It is sad that our court would say that the family did not have a case strong enough in order to win this. Like, even just when you look at the animal and how pretty they are. We are protecting our food industry, but the reality is the family was no longer selling the meat of those animals. So right there is a flaw in saying that they will be culled, because the animals were no longer being used for food, but instead they were willing to work with us and revealing to us. But my prayer now at this point is that may this Spanish flu spread even in every part of the country where there are animals, so that we can understand what's going on. If there is a soil contamination somewhere, whatever is causing this in those animals, we need to understand that and we need to deal with them. It is not the animals that we are going to kill, but it is what is causing it that we have to deal with. In Benin, we have my native land. Farms, they deal with that, but they don't kill all the animals. I discovered there are vaccines for the animals. The animals are vaccinated. We have veterinarians for a reason. If the vet who went to, if the vet who tested the animals, his verdict wasn't believed, then you did your own test. We have vets in this country for a reason, and very well educated veterinarians too. If it is that the circumstances for what the family was planning to do in the future were not adequate, it's good to develop procedures and tell them, what, if you want to use this animal for this, this is what you will need to do. We will give you few months to put this in place. We will give you this to put that in place, and everybody wins. I believe that life is a win-win. I don't believe in killing as a solution. We used to have a king in the history of Benin who went to war with a drum. He never killed anybody in order to win any war he got himself into. He battled with drums. He will go to wars, but nobody will die when he was going to war. How do we think? If in our minds, the only solution to problems is killing, we have a long way to go. Cambodia, they have the Spanish flu. And even some of the farmers on whose farms the Spanish flu arise sometimes have died. But they do not kill the birds, like the chickens or the turkeys or the ostriches or all the type of birds that they raise on those farms, because it is the livelihood of the farmers. They are considered to be one of the kingdoms that are still being developed. Maybe it's because we are so rich in Canada that we feel that we can have that privilege of just killing animals. But in these days and age, I think we need to protect every little bit that we have, because we live side by side. The Kingdom of Cambodia has developed an educational program where they educate the farmers, and this has been helping in decreasing the spread of so the spread of that Spanish flu. So they have actually been working in trying to understand what are the things that are causing this Spanish flu in those farms and among those farmers, which is something we are yet to do. So this said, I would say I rest my case, and it is clear that there are many ministers who could have been involved in this to make this better, to avoid this tragic situation. Many ministers in BC, and especially our Ministers of Health. So may Saint Ariel Archangel guide us, the protector of animals. And to all of us, I wish a marvelous winter season. It's snowing here outside in Calgary today, and it's beautiful. And we need to learn to have a moderate life. Look at this. These are lilacs that I harvested. It's been 3-4 years now. And I still have lots left there. Everything in moderation. We can do it. We can do it. And I wish us well. Till the next episode of the Leadership Show. Have a blessed Advent. And you're just shopping for Christmas? You can stop by my boutiques. Cheers.